All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name is Aaron. This is a great time to be in cryptocurrency. And of course, the reason you want to subscribe to this channel is because we drop a video every day, keeping you informed, providing news, opinion, market analysis, perspective. That's exactly what we're doing today. I'm going to give you my perspective, my opinion, my predictions on where we're going in this bull cycle, kind of compare it to where we were, early on when we were making content on this channel, and just try to show you what has changed in the last 2 years, in the last 4 years. There's a lot to talk about. I'm going to play you 3 video clips to help illustrate my point, to help illustrate where I see cryptocurrency going over the next few years, over the next decade. But you can't understand where Bitcoin is going unless you understand where Bitcoin has been and where Bitcoin is right now. Bitcoin has strong support building around the $58,000 area. I think a lot of people are thinking this. After Bitcoin breaks above 62,000 again, we've been seeing a lot of coiling up. I think we're going to see something like this or like this or like any of these times where once Bitcoin breaks past all-time highs in a maturing bull market, we're going to see a huge rally, possibly 100K Bitcoin by the summer. Now, people coming in to cryptocurrency today don't understand how different things are compared to how things were 4 years ago, even in Bitcoin's 12-year history. So when I was coming into Bitcoin in 2016 and 2017, there was something happening with the network. Bitcoin's network wasn't always as hardened and sure as we think of it today. At the time, the block size wars were going on, and I knew about this peripherally, but I really wasn't paying attention. But actually, I just bought this book. I'm going to learn even more about it. But at this time, there was a battle over who truly controls the Bitcoin protocol. Now, anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, rest assured, Bitcoin came out of this stronger, more battle-tested, and more hardened than it was before. But we needed something like this to happen and for Bitcoin to prove itself and get more battle-tested and more hardened for something like this to happen. Where now, all of a sudden, high-net-worth individuals, companies, even more individuals like you and me are either hodling Bitcoin, or what I'm talking about here, of course, is publicly traded companies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. People coming into crypto today think this is normal. They think PayPal buying and selling and securing cryptocurrencies is normal. People used to think that governments or legacy entities like PayPal would fight against Bitcoin. Little did we know that not only are these people chomping at the bit to hold Bitcoin, to list Bitcoin, they're also supporting the alternative Bitcoins, the alternative crypto assets. I mean, what a time to be in crypto. People used to think this would never be possible. Believe me, even just 2-3 years ago, when Bitcoin was at its lowest, 3,200, even just alleging that Bitcoin is a good investment, why Bitcoin will explode in 2 to 5 years, back in 2018, 17,000 people watched it. It was hard enough to convince people that Bitcoin had value. I mean, truly, what happened with COVID changed people's perceptions a lot. This is a video from 2019. Bitcoin was still about $4,000. You need to think about this. Bitcoin 5 to 10 year prediction. I was also alleging Bitcoin was a good investment, or even later in 2019, when Bitcoin did go on a rally and Bitcoin was $10,000, one of the first times. I said, guys, Bitcoin is setting up for a massive bull run that will make 2017 look like a molehill. And, tons of comments of people just going, Bitcoin can't even get past $11,000. Think big picture. So before I play you this clip, guys, it's just so different from how things were. Remember in 2018, or maybe it was 2017, that was the first time I think we ever heard somebody, utter a Bitcoin ETF like, it possibly could happen. Back then it was the Winklevi trying to make a Bitcoin ETF happen. The Winklevi kind of just seemed like they were getting Gemini off the ground back then. They weren't such a big part of crypto, the poster boys like they are today. Anyways, today, guys, with Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, a Bitcoin ETF will get approval. A lot of people think it's going to happen this year, but if not this year, it's definitely going to happen. I'm 99% sure. I think a lot of people are pretty sure. Beyond that, I'm talking about how legacy systems are supporting alternative cryptocurrencies. Christie's, again, is a staple in art. Just, decades of history. They sold the Beeple. Now they're selling 9 rare CryptoPunks. What a time. And people are accepting this. The mainstream media is touting this. It's just, guys, keep in mind, there will be earth-shattering pullbacks. Don't get me wrong. Or heart-quenching pullbacks, whatever you want to say. But, things are different. Not that we won't see a bear market, but things are very much different this time. Again, I remember in 2017, 2018, when there was just one NFT product on Ethereum. It was CryptoKitties. And CryptoKitties, by the time I started paying attention, that was when the bear market started, they were touted as a failure. One NFT game clogged up the whole Ethereum network. Today, we're seeing so much, there's so many NFT projects that are on Ethereum, and they're not clogging up the network. We have all these layer 2 solutions like Immutable X. It's just things are different from how they were 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago. So now that we've prefaced this video with all of that information, let's watch the first clip about how Coinbase is undervalued. The second clip will be about how Bitcoin is undervalued. And then the third clip will be about, because of what's happening with Coinbase, because of what's going to happen in the next 3-5 years, cryptocurrency could be very undervalued. Let's watch the first clip.
You've probably heard the crypto platform Coinbase is expected to go public next week with a reported valuation all in of more than $100 billion. Joining us now is Perianne Boring, founder and president of the Digital Chamber of Commerce. Just looking at the numbers, if you were to just look at growth and I guess just extend the growth that we saw in the last year into the future, maybe it makes sense. I guess that's the real question. But these numbers, Perianne, revenue year over year up 847%. So 1.8 billion first quarter revenue versus 190 million. And net income jumping to roughly $750 million from 32 million. And then you got just assets because of what happened with crypto and mostly Bitcoin, 223 billion versus 90 billion at the end of 2020. Does that justify a $100 billion market cap for Coinbase?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Coinbase is actually undervalued for 2 reasons. One, fast-growing companies deserve a higher multiple. And as you noted in their earnings call this week, we learned that in the first quarter of this year, they did 1.8 billion in revenue. They have a run rate of 7 billion, and they're expected to earn anywhere between 8 and 10 billion in revenue in 2021. So their valuation is 10x of that. For a fast-growing company that's growing at 400% year over year, they deserve a higher multiple. I think that multiple should be closer to 15x, which would really bring it more to 150 billion valuation. Fast-growing companies deserve higher multiples to revenue. But that's only the first reason. The second reason that I think Coinbase is undervalued is because Bitcoin is undervalued, and Coinbase's performance tracks very closely with Bitcoin's performance, and Bitcoin's undervalued based on multiple models.
In multiple models. All right, there's a lot of ways to try to value Bitcoin.
So Coinbase is undervalued for a multitude of reasons. One of the reasons is because she thinks Bitcoin is undervalued. When I look at Bitcoin, I tend to agree. I think Bitcoin is undervalued. So let's talk about that. Is Bitcoin undervalued? And
Bitcoin's undervalued based on multiple models.
In multiple models. All right, there's a lot of ways to try to value Bitcoin. A lot of it is pretty arcane, but I think the CEO of Coinbase pointed out the 4 other times when Bitcoin has gone on a run like this, and kind of implying that this time it may have gotten above a certain level where we may not see the highs and lows of previous years, where we saw 20,000 and then we saw 4,000. So what do you think the low on Bitcoin will be? And then I don't just mean this year, but in general, how will it ever pull back below 35,000, below 30,000. When you say it's undervalued, what do you think it is valued? You a maximalist that think it should be $1 million a coin? I mean, where are you on the high and the low?
Metcalfe's law says that Bitcoin should be priced at $72,000 today. Metcalfe's law that was formulated by one of our advisory board members, George Gilder, and it's a formula that many technology investors use today to value a network, and you just use user squared times the transaction value. That brings you to 72,000 today. Another model that we look at is stock to flow. Joe, I know you're very familiar with this. Stock to flow says Bitcoin should be priced at 100,000 to 288,000 this year. We have 12 years of data on stock to flow in Bitcoin. And if you measure it using US dollars, stock to flow is 94% correlated. And if you use gold, stock to flow is 99% correlated. And stock to flow also says Bitcoin will be $10,000 an ounce. One Bitcoin will be 10,000 ounces of gold in 2029. That's what people mean when they say Bitcoin is eating gold.
And then finally, my friends, perhaps the most important clip in today's video. Realize that Coinbase is just the beginning. Pretty soon Kraken is going to go public. Pretty soon it's going to become commonplace for cryptocurrency companies to go public. Not just Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. That's very important because it seems to me that this new decade for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the mainstream light versus Bitcoin's first decade, a pariah of the mainstream, this new decade is going to be very different. And what I'm thinking right now is, perhaps even if these cryptocurrency companies, the ones farther down the list, even if they're not totally decentralized and not totally censorship resistant, that really doesn't seem to matter at this point in time in cryptocurrency's history. Maybe 5 years from now, governments will come down hard on digital assets or whatever, and the ones that are decentralized and truly censorship resistant will prevail. But at this time, it seems that there's going to be a lot of upside in the next few years in the overall crypto market. That's what it looks like to me. Let's listen to what she says. Comment your thoughts below. Tell me what you think about all this. Make sure that you subscribe.
Perry-Ann, one question about the value of Coinbase that I'm curious about is currently they are virtually the only game in town in the United States. But if you are as bullish as I think you are on cryptocurrencies long term, you'd imagine that J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, we just had J.J. Kinahan on, the TD Ameritrades of the world. Everybody will allow trading of these currencies. So how will that impact, I would imagine, the value of Coinbase?
Well, it's absolutely going to impact the market cap of Bitcoin. And Coinbase isn't the only game in town. Kraken is quickly behind them, and they announced yesterday they plan to do a direct listing as well. In 2018, the St. Louis Fed released a report saying that Bitcoin will emerge as its own asset class. And what's happening this week is giving a lot of credibility to this asset class. Bitcoin's market cap today is $1 trillion. The entire token market cap is $2 trillion. Bitcoin has emerged.